Hello and welcome to Team Franco Bodybuilding Podcast. My name is Joe, which most of you already know if you're listening. We are on episode number 69, so we have done a lot of these over the last couple of years. And as usual, I just want to thank all the listeners, all the feedback over the last couple of years, because it's pretty cool to learn that people will listen to these as they have helped guided them through their fitness journey and also through their competitive seasons of competing for the first time. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. So as you read the title of this one, and I made some notes this time along with making it more of a conversation, but you'll see the title, The Hard Truths About Competing. Now, competing can be for many things, but this is more specific for physique competitions. And as you know, when I say physique competitions, or if I use the word bodybuilding, it simply means all the divisions. If you go back, you'll see, and if you listen to this one and you have listened to many of my other podcasts, you're going to hear a lot of the same themes. But I'm just trying to wrap this up, because when I do these podcasts, it's usually from something that inspires me or something that I notice a little bit more often or something that I'm living through over the last couple of months. So therefore, I like to put it down on audio, so then hoping maybe, someone will connect to it and it will make sense. Obviously, when it comes to competition prep, it takes a lot of discipline, dedication, and planning. We all know that. But that is what also separates the winners from the losers. Now, when I say winners, I'm not necessarily talking about coming in first place, because that is a hard truth right there. You can do everything perfect. You can look your all-time best. But so happens someone is going to look better. I've seen it dozens of times where I have clients send me their pictures and everything is being nailed and perfect. And you're like, you know what? She or he is going to win, but it may not be their day. And it's only because of maybe someone was better, and that is a possibility. That's one of the hard truths, because we can do everything properly, nail it, and then come up short from winning, your class, your pro card, whatever, because deservingly so, there could be someone better. It's a subjective sport, yes, but it's not a competitive sport where there's an offense and defense. So that is something to be successful in competing. You got to get out of your head right away. Yes, winning your pro card can help drive us and keep our habits going, but at the same time realize there's that good chance that you may not come home with that first place, that first prize, because it's hard. It sucks. So that is definitely something, what I call a hard truth, where you got to realize that, you can't control the outcome all the time. One of the major hard truths that I like to discuss, and I see it, is that once you complete your journey of competition, and when you look back, did you have any regrets? Or did you feel that, you could have done something better? Now, I'm not talking about doing extreme amounts of cardio or starving yourself better, because that's ridiculous. But I am more talking about, was your training constantly, were you consistent with your training? Did you keep the intensity levels up? And a hard truth with your training is, yes, you're not going to be setting PRs or making huge gains in the gym. That's only because if you had dropped, body fat, body weight, your strength levels are going to decline. So the training is important, but you also have to succumb to it and realize that, I'm not going to be lifting as much weight as I did before, but that doesn't mean the intensity levels get low. higher reps, low weight, whatever, or just adjusting what you've been doing does have its place, because the goal is to maintain as much muscle, to compete. It's not a starvation contest. It's not a cardio contest. So the regrets, or when you look back, did you train properly? Did you adapt to your training? That is something that you want to be, if you have a proper coach, that's something you can talk about. But, listening to your body, training properly are all major keys with that type of consistency. And that's something that, when you finish, come off stage and you get to digest everything after a couple of days, looking back, did I do my training properly? Did I listen to my body? That is something that you have to also, that's a hard truth. Real simple. Again, with the no regrets and looking back, did I do everything properly? I'm not talking about 6 months deep or anything, but with your diet. So let's just say that you're in a good place. You had your balance and flexibility for 6-9 months, a year. You're in what I call striking distance. You have enough muscle, to compete, obviously, for the first time or repetitive or coming back out. And then you realize, all right, you know what? The next 4 to 6 months, or whatever the number is that you decide on, I need to lose that 10 to 15 pounds, whatever. It's arbitrary. It doesn't really matter. Were you nailing your diet? Okay. Yes, you hear me all the time on social media about balance and flexibility, especially with the diet. Life stuff happens. But the hardcore truth is, when you decide, and that competition date, and you're within striking distance, you got to nail the diet. Okay? Again, I'm not talking about starving yourself. I'm talking about consistency with the diet, right or wrong, because consistency with the diet, right or wrong, is going to gather data. So you learn how your body is responding, and that is, great information if you have a trainer or a coach or whatnot. That's it. You hear about people that, like they had a blowout or a mini cheat, or they went away, and I understand it, I get it, and it's something that you learn from. But did you have any regrets saying, oh man, I really hope, it was bad planning on my behalf, I got emotional, so I ate more? Those type of things, they add up. They can slow down progress, and you don't think that you need to overcompensate. But consistency with the diet, day in, day out, planning ahead, taking responsibility for those last number of weeks, especially couple of months, sure, 3 to 4 months, maybe, is what is going to separate you from everyone else for that dedication and discipline and going into the show. Because again, you could do everything right. You can have all the discipline, but I don't want you to freak out if you don't place as high. It's individual. It's you versus you. It's when you step off on stage, first, 5th place, not finishing top 5, that you felt proud of nailing down that diet and knowing that I did everything healthy, the right way. Because then what's great about doing that first show or whatnot is that you gather that data, and it becomes valuable information for the next time that you compete, and that you can plan ahead, and knowing that you did it right, and maybe you just need more time to get more muscle, or just give yourself more time to diet down. But not to look back and say, fuck, sorry about that. I know I could have done better with my diet. I know if I would have planned ahead in different situations, I could have done better. That's what sucks. Having that regret and thinking that you could have done better. That's to me, when I compete, that is it. And maybe that's why when I get older, I push shows back or whatever, because I know I want that dedication and discipline. So I have no regrets no matter what I place. That is, right now in my part of life, or whatever you want to call it, phase of life and competing, that to me is it. Because it's okay, other things do become important, but if you set out this goal, don't have any regrets. Do what is needed to do, stick to the plan. Because a few reasons. One, it's super expensive to compete, right? And especially for the women, I feel bad for them. I mean, some people have prep coaches, posing coaches. You spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on suits. It costs hundreds of dollars to enter a show. And then, you look back, you're like, yeah, I spent like $1,000 on all this, and I didn't follow the plan, right? Why? You have to ask yourself. So that is something that is part of it. I mean, money's not everything, but you don't want to have, feel bad about, what you spent on, everything, and then feel like, what, I could have done better. And another part, and it's funny because I've heard clients say this over the years, where they're set up well to compete. They're in what I call my striking distance. They're in a good place. That low happy weight that you hear me talk about, where, they dieted down a little bit. They're still flexible. They're not doing crazy amount of cardio. They lost some body fat. And then, all right, you know what? They can compete in 3 months, and it's just a matter of just tightening up more and having that discipline. But you feel bad because you're like, wow, you know what? Food is, what if I do want to have a couple drinks on the weekend, or, have that pizza on Friday night? Sometimes people get short-sighted where they think they can't have that stuff ever again. And that's not true. What separates you from advancing and putting your body in a place that it's never been from the average person is that discipline and saying, you know what? I can hold off on that wine if I'm not making it fit my macros, or pizza, or whatever, sushi, whatever your gig is. You have to have that discipline and say, you know what? It's something to look forward to. After I step off stage and relax for a couple days, I'm going to loosen up my diet a little bit, do a nice recovery diet, and I can fit these foods in. So don't get so wrapped up in thinking that, oh man, I can't have this food, or I'm going to be hungry, or whatnot. Let it go. I mean, it's just food, to be honest with you. Preoccupy your mind with other activities, family, friends, loved ones, whatnot. Be busy. That is always a cure for that. So the food part, that's a psychological thing that you must work on and say, you know what, screw it. It's a sacrifice. I mean, anything good in life, there's a sacrifice, right? I mean, we have a relationship, you have to sacrifice. If you're going to school, you have to sacrifice, because there will be an end result. But when you get there, if it's 3 months, 6 months, 4 years, whatever it is, you can then celebrate and look back, excuse me, and feel great about what you did. So the food part, and I actually, I did a whole podcast on food and training and contest prep. What was the title? It was called something like Don't Make It Bigger Than What It Really Is. Because when people enter this, they throw themselves in, which, yeah, I understand, but they make it bigger than what it really is. Because the truth of the matter, the only change when you decide and you're in striking distance of competing is, yes, you want to make sure you're consistent with everything. Yes, you're going to be most likely eating less food, but that's it. Your life and the activities and your work and your family, it doesn't change. You still have other goals going on. You still have other priorities, other commitments. So don't make it bigger than what it really is. I mean, that's all I can say. And look for that podcast. I highly suggest you to listen to that one. So, not to recap, because I think I got a few more notes here. The discipline is what it comes down to, not having that regret. I've said that about 30 times already. Yes, contest prep, and I joke around with clients because, if someone starts with me and we have a smart plan where they don't want to compete for a year or two, and they're like, well, when am I technically going to start prepping? I said, well, as soon as you hired me, you're prepping. Just because you're not starving right now doesn't mean you're prepping. we're setting your body up. We're building that consistency up. We're building up that repetition, that training up to get better every single day. So therefore, when the transition happens to losing and focusing on body fat, it's going to be easier. So I think the issue, and I've had, I see people on social media and everything where they'll half-fast their training. They post it up and, this new workout and I started my diet and here's this. But they'll do that after they pick the show, okay? Meaning like they want to compete, say, in 6 months, so now all of a sudden everything's coming together. The hard truth is no. You need to be doing this day in and day out, not starving, but consistency with your training, getting in good habits with your food, planning ahead so you don't have to guess what your food is. So therefore it becomes easy when you need to turn it on to lose that additional body fat. The truth is, it is year-round, okay? Just because you might be 10, 15, 20 pounds over contest weight if you competed before, or what you estimate, or what the coach may estimate, you are prepping, for that goal, right? I mean, that's the bottom line. It doesn't have to be that specific, and you don't have to show it off. I mean, an example, the sport of baseball. Yes, there's a season. You play 3-4 months. And yes, I recommend, especially young gentlemen or women playing softball, not to do it year-round because you get burnt out. Because that equates to like dieting all year-round, meaning dieting, losing, trying to focus on body fat. You need to break, okay? But you still are doing little things to train to get better for that goal that could be in a year to 2 years. So these people that I see, when they get excited and make that commitment to compete, they don't give themselves enough time. And usually they use that goal to hold themselves more accountable, for a shorter period of time, which is not going to reach. So it really is year-round prepping and so on and so forth. All right, give you an example. I'll talk about what I've been doing recently. Okay, I was at my high happy body weight, basically all of last year. I thought about, I want to compete in this year, 2022, so let's just start shaving away. Okay? I still trained hard, still train intensity. Am I getting a little bit weaker? A little bit weaker now, about after 8 months, believe it or not, of doing this. And I've dropped about 10 pounds. Okay? Yes, I've still basically eat the same thing, but, not eating out as much or just being more mindful, tweak my macros a little bit. And it's a slow and controlled process. It's not like back in December of last year, I'm like, all right, I'm competing 3 months, turn it on. Well, physically and mentally, I can't do that just because I need to have a slow transition. But I can honestly say right now I'm in striking distance. I can compete probably in 10 to 15 weeks, as long as I push through and drive through. So that is the year-round aspect of it. But I never get too fat to make it like, I can't do it. But the habits are always there. And it's because I love it. That's first of all. Everyone's a little bit different. I do this because I enjoy it. I love the discipline. I love, seeing the results even at my age. And, maybe it's because I am a little bit older and I would like to do one more show to say, hey, I did one when I was a teenager and now I did one in my 50s. Every decade of my life I've competed. So you find different inspiration, but the inspiration in what I just said is you versus you. It's not seeing recent pictures of the pro card winners. I mean, if that helps, that's great, but that shouldn't be the sole purpose of you wanting to compete to get back on board. It's year round. I can't stress that enough. And again, not starving yourself. Yeah, you want to back off on the diet. You want to eat more, but you still need that daily habits of training, treating your body right. So when it comes time to compete, you're going to be able to nail it. All right, I'm just looking at my notes a little bit here. So just give me a brief second, and I hate to have quiet on the podcast. The balance and flexibility of all this brings the longevity. Okay, that is that's a hardcore truth. I mean, if you think, if you just want to turn it on the last few months and say, hey, this is great, I want to step on stage, my friends just did, so I can do it. Hey, so be it. And then you're happy with that, that is fine. And that comes to another super important point, is being happy, right? You, again, no regrets, being happy. I mean, it's almost the same thing, because after you do your first show, your second, your third, or your eighth show, you want to be happy with what you put into it. Very similar to no regrets, I guess. And if you're happy during the process, and you're one of these type of people that just jumps into it, does it, and you had a good time, hey, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. I think a lot of people do that. They just want to get the experience. They think it's cool. They love the adrenaline of being on stage. They love, the presentation end of it. So they're happy with it. But to increase that happiness, or the chance of being happiness, is not letting yourself down and being consistent, disciplined with the correct amount of time for you. All right. I mean, yeah, everyone's got different fingerprints, different genetics. And sure, some people can do short preps and nail it. I mean, I did a podcast on that subject, and they're happy with that. Some people need a year, just to gradually get into things. I mean, that's more like me, just slow and controlled and let things happen naturally. And then going for it the last, 2 months, say, or 3 months, and just pressing it down. Everyone's different. So therefore, don't compare yourself to anyone else. Often when I have a client that competes, and if they were blessed enough to win their pro card, I will have other people, not necessarily clients, but go, what did he or she do? I said, well, you know what? They nailed it. Yeah, they may have good genetics. Yes, obviously you have to have good work ethic, and that comes from within. That can't be found, by looking at pictures of social media or doing fancy workouts or fancy diets. Work ethic is something that you have to strive for and allow that to build. But when they ask, I'm like, well, you know what? They nailed their diet. They didn't cheat on their diet. They embraced it, because they also know that, this is not forever. Where after a few months of going balls out and doing what needs to be done, they're going to loosen up a little bit. That's life. It's a cycle, right? It's an evolution. Things change, constant motion. So that's basically the hard truths about competing. I know I'm starting to get over my time limit, or 20 minutes, but I'm very passionate about this. Don't make it bigger what it really is, but be proud. After you compete, when you look back, tell yourself or ask, did I do it all? And if the answer is yes, and I'm hoping it is, then that's to be proud of, because not everyone can do this, all right? I mean, people try and fail, and that's okay, believe me. They may have life stuff that happens, and that sometimes is okay, and it's okay to push a show back. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing to feel bad about that, because believe me, it's happened to me. And I've had clients that were nailing their diet, and just so happens, a tough moment happened in their life, or they got sick or something, and they had a couple of really rough weeks, and we'll have that conversation and be like, you know what, maybe we should push it back. It's because you are nailing it, you are doing everything right, and those few weeks of just being off, we can make up as far as, giving yourself that amount of time back. And then they push back through and everything works out. But if you have those hiccups during your prep, please don't go crazy and try to overcompensate. Doing an hour of cardio a day or limiting your food. It's not worth it. It really isn't, because then you're going to regret that you even did that, right? There is no perfect prep. So trust me on that. I mean, shit's going to happen. Don't try to make up for it. But when you give yourself enough time, that is basically the factor that's going to help everything even out. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up because I know when I close this out and re-listen to it, I'm going to be like regretting, oh, I should have said this or not this. But I think you got my point across about the hard truth of competing. It's having the discipline, the planning ahead, no regrets after you complete it, being happy, and realizing it's not going to be forever, right? You push hard, not everyone else can do this. That's pretty much what it comes down to. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you for listening to Team Franco Bodybuilding Podcast. Any questions or concerns, hit me up at fitfranco@verizon.net. Check out the social media on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook under my name and Team Franco. Interested in coaching, I'm here for you guys, or just questions you want to bounce off. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon.